welcome back to Casuals Corner, and today I'm very excited to break this one down for you because I think this is a fight that's slightly flying under the radar a little bit. The next few months we've got some crazy, and I mean crazy, fight cards that we've been spoilt with, but like I said, I'm not sure this one's getting as much attention as it deserves because this has the potential to be an absolute barn burner. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa. Now before we jump into it, if you're new here, we bring you daily MMA content on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're there. Behind the scenes footage, interviews with fighters, daily articles, daily breakdowns, you know the drill. So hit the like, the subscribe and the little bell icon to stay up to date with the content. Anyway, enough promo, let's jump into it. This is exciting, and I've even filmed a breakdown for this yesterday that I had to delete and come back to it because if you don't know, there's big breaking news in this one. Paulo Costa has been walking around pretty much as a heavyweight, and now he's asked for £195 catchweight. Now, I must say, I think Paulo Costa is a marketing PR genius. The way that he nonchalantly navigated a catchweight as if it was in their contract, he deserved to have it, was incredible. It was nuts. I don't think he acknowledged once he'd even missed weight. It was a very, very strange interview that I watched. But fair play to Marvin Vettori. He said, I'll fight you anyway. And I knew that he would say that anyway. I knew he'd want this fight because there's big title implications on this. Which is why it's so weird that Paulo Costa's literally come in at a heavyweight. He said he was walking around at around £211. But I added a few onto that because if he's saying 211, I can imagine it's a few more. So it was a very, very strange start to it. And the fact that he's been out for 12 plus months, the last time we saw him was with Izzy, obviously, and the whole Winegate. And now the time that we're seeing him next is him saying, no, I'm 250, you make it at catchweight. And then he started saying to him, oh, make sure you're there. Don't do this, don't do that. I went, I don't think you know how this works. But anyway, I kind of loved it in a weird way. I thought it was terrible he missed weight, and I'm annoyed that came so close to stopping it, and I think that says a lot about his professionalism and his title hopes because Dana does not like miss weights. But I love the way he blagged it off, not gonna lie. But anyway, let's actually just jump into the fight because like I said, I think this is going to be a very, very interesting one, and the reason for that is the last time we saw Paulo, rightfully so, to have that confidence. I know if I looked like him and was doing what he was doing, I'd probably have a little spring in my step, but that look was wiped off his face instantly after the first round, and it was so noticeable. And if you do a comparison side to side, it's obscene. You can see all the life, all the soul, all the happiness. He's not sticking out his tongue anymore. It looked like he was looking up at the clock before the round had even started. So he needs to work on his poker face a little bit more than that because he could come into some deep waters in this fight, on this fight on Saturday. That's why I find this so fascinating. Where's his mentality at the moment? And I was saying this on the last video I made, and now I've just added this whole weight cut thing onto it. It really doesn't paint a very good picture for Paulo Costa. Now, if we actually have a look at him in the fight, if he gets too emotional, I think that's very much going to work against him. If he comes in, especially now with all this negativity around his weight, if he comes in and tries to think, right, I'm going to get back to that Paulo Costa that was 13-0 and knocking everyone out. I'm going to come in, starch Marvin Vettori and get him out quickly. I'm going to show everyone why I deserve to be the best. Now, if you told me that was going to be his game plan, I wouldn't be very surprised. He does strike me as someone that may try and do that, and that's where I think it's going to work against him because Marvin Vettori can very much weather that storm. So I think if Paulo Costa is going to win this fight, and obviously he still has every opportunity, this is still very competitive, but he has to be smart about it. He has to use a strong fight IQ that we haven't really seen from him as of yet against noticeable competition. So obviously, the way this sets up is southpaw and orthodox, which is always exciting, but it's especially exciting for this fight because that's two of their favourite combined attacks, really. You've got that power punch, power back punch, and you've got that power leg as well for both stances. So that's where I think Paulo Costa is going to have to invest. He's going to have to start putting money in the bank. I think he's going to have to work on that inside calf kick against Marvin Vettori and the body as well, because he throws every muscle fibre into them, and we know he has a lot of them. I think he even landed one or two against Adesanya, and you can hear him. You can hear him. I wear my headphones when I'm watching it, just so I can hear like the sounds a little bit clearer, and they are horrible. So if he invests in them early, takes that sting out of Vettori a little, takes away the gas tank a little, I think that's where he's going to have success. Because we've seen before, Marvin Vettori is very durable, and he's happy to push a pace. I don't think Paulo Costa is capable of that, and I think if he comes out trying to match him in that game, I don't think it's going to end very well for him. I know people may say, oh, he went 5 rounds with Romero. Yeah, okay, he did, and that was an incredible fight, and honestly one of my favourite fights. But Romero was never going to wrestle him. I know he could have wrestled him, but he was never going to, because he didn't have the gas tank to do that. But Marvin Vettori very much does. And we saw against Kevin Holland, he shot for 17, 18 takedowns, I think it was, and he landed 11. So if Paulo Costa is going to have any success, I think that's what he has to do. I think he has to invest into the leg and into the body and just sap that energy a little bit. And then he can start going to work with his hands. Because I think if he comes in and tries to throw a sandstorm of attacks at Marvin Vettori, he'll have a higher tight guard, he'll ride a few, he'll weather the storm, and then he's going to get into the fight. And that's how I see Marvin Vettori's path to victory. I think he has to... I think this fight for the first 2 rounds is going to play out like a kickboxing match, and an exciting one. I think that's where we're going to get the excitement. But I think after that, I think going into the third, Marvin Vettori is going to use a little bit of fight IQ here, because he is an intelligent fighter. I know he can be a bit of a meathead, a bit of a knucklehead, but he is an intelligent fighter. He'll use his wrestling. We saw that against Kevin Holland, and even though that Paulo Costa has 80% takedown defense, that doesn't really matter if someone's shooting 18 times. Of course, it's good to have a higher percentage, but how many shots have people taken on him? And how many shots have people taken on him when they're fresh as well? Because obviously we've seen him starching a lot of people. So if Marvin Vettori uses that relentless style, I think that's where he's going to get success in this fight. I think if he can keep it standing for a couple, and then start mixing in them takedowns, and then start getting Paulo Costa second guessing, is he going to take him down, or is he going to come with that straight left, which I think's money. I think it's so straight and on the button. I think that could really do some damage, and I think we could see that finding its way through Paulo Costa's guard quite a few times. So yeah, I think he has to utilise that chain wrestling. I think he has to wear on him, get him tired, use that lactic acid in the muscles that we know Paulo Costa's going to have. It's cliche, but look at him. He's going to tire. He will tire. So we know the gas tank Marvin Vettori has, and we know the chin he has. Israel Adesanya didn't say much positive about him, but he did say he's got a hard head, and we know that. And Marvin Vettori doesn't always have the advantage in terms of the skill set against fighters, but not only is he very skillful, I'm not saying that he isn't, but he makes up for it in tenacity and strength and grit and hard work. And the deficit he has maybe on some of the techniques of his wrestling or his ground game or even his striking. He's a good boxer, but even his striking, sometimes he just bites down on the mouthpiece and works through it. And that's how I think it's going to play out. I think he's going to utilise that chain wrestling. I know, like I said, 80%. And people are going to say to me, Paulo Costa's a black belt, he's a black belt. I know that. I just don't think Vettori's going to have... Kevin Holland was a black belt. That's something we need to remember. Kevin Holland was actually a black belt as well. And some people were saying the same thing. But when you're tired, that doesn't matter. And we saw with Jake Hadley the other day when he managed to submit the fella on Dana White Contender Series with a rear naked choke. That was only on the chin. Now, I'm not saying that he'll be able to do that to Paulo Costa, but it's even things like that just to tire him out more, to weather on him. And we know that Vettori can wrap a neck. We've seen him with guillotines and rear naked chokes as well. So seeing one of them in the third, fourth round isn't out the question. It's not out the question. That's a danger I think Costa definitely has to be wary of. But I think Vettori gets this done in the fourth. I do. I think if he's smart, I think if he can weather a few of the punches of Paulo Costa, if he can mix in his chain wrestling, then I think that's going to work to his benefit. And if you look at Vettori's average fight time of 15 minutes, you compare that to Paulo Costa's 7, 15 minutes is obviously just 3 rounds. So even if he can just get him to that average fight time, which is a whole fight pretty much for Paulo Costa, 7 minutes is not a long time. It's just, I was going to say it's just over 2 rounds. And then that, I was going to say, you do know that. And then I'm thinking, No, that isn't even right. That's just after the first round. So when you actually think how little that is, and you think how experienced Marvin Vettori is in there, and you have to think as well the looks that he's been getting recently. He just came off of a loss to Adesanya. Now, I don't think he won that, but he stood in there for 5 rounds and got 25 minutes of looks from an exceptional kickboxer. And I don't think Paulo Costa's striking is anywhere near that. I think he has the power, yes, but I think once you drain his energy tank a little bit, I think that's going to be taken away. I know that sounds very one-sided in my analysis, but I do just think this favours Vettori. Even though this does look like a close matchup, I just think this favours Vettori, and I think he wants this title, and I think he'll play it smart to get there. And fair play to him. Fair play to him for taking that Catchweight. I must say, he is growing on me. And he actually, to be fair, the pair of them are actually slightly quite funny. This fight week's actually been pretty humorous in areas. So that's how I think it's going to play out. I'm going to go with a 4th round stoppage of Marvin Vettori. I think he's going to get it done ground and pound. I think he's going to stop Paulo Costa. But if we see a new switched on Paulo Costa with a little bit of fight IQ, setting up his shots, putting money in the bank, using those heavy hands, then I think we can see a very exciting fight. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Drop your thoughts below. Hit the little bell icon, the subscribe button, and the like button if you enjoyed the content, because we're churning out a lot of it. And the page is really starting to grow, not only on YouTube, but TikTok and Instagram as well. And it's all you guys. It sounds pretty cliche, but every engagement really, really does help. So I appreciate all of them. Keep them coming in. Enjoy the fights this weekend.